Bill Clinton has stated that he believes that developing sector nations must be permitted to pursue the development of nuclear power for peaceful uses, i.e. for the generation of electricity. Yet, here in the United States, where we clearly are well equipped to generate electricity with nuclear reactors, there seems to be a continued reluctance to embrace a pro-nuclear position, even though most people involved will tell you privately that they do support it. The reservation seems to be centered on the fact that people do not trust public utilities to properly maintain these plants. As you may know, there is a scandal right now that has erupted at the Peachtree facility in Pennsylvania, where videotapes were released showing people asleep at the switch, so to speak. But my question is, could we really move for the kind of large-scale development projects that are necessary to rebuild the United States and to revitalize our industry without nuclear power? What are your thoughts on this, and how do we address the question of the regulation of these facilities? Do you think that safety really is a factor?
Well, what you've got is you've got a piece of idiocy which was started in part by some people back in the 19th century, Clausius and Kelvin and others, who came up with what was called the second law of thermodynamics, which is a piece of crap. There is no such thing as a quantity of energy. We have an effect which is quantified, but there's no quantity of energy. It doesn't come in quantity units. Energy is actually, what we call energy as effect, is measured as an increase of what we call energy flux density. For example, mankind relied upon the sun for heat. Now, the sun is a very big thermonuclear fusion process, and it has a very high temperature. Not as high as some supernova and so forth, but it's very high. And this heat is radiated from the sun and reaches the surface of the Earth, where it has a very low energy flux density. Now, this low energy flux density of radiated sunlight is very useful if you use it properly. What happens is that you have a little thing called chlorophyll. It looks like a polywog. A molecule looks like a polywog. And they sort of nest together. And they have this kind, I don't want to talk about the sex life of the molecule, but anyway, whatever they do something in particular. They absorb radiation, which can be counted in calories, into the process. Now, this power they accumulate is then transformed by a little magnesium molecules behavior that into a higher energy flux density, such as water and carbon dioxide, and the production of living plant life, green plant life. The effect of this is that you have plant life now using the sunlight to generate chlorophyll and to produce more oxygen, generate oxygen from carbon dioxide, and also water in the process, creates a climate of fields and forests and life in general, transforms the desert into a place where people can live, where man's power over nature is increased. What these idiots propose to do is to take the sunlight directly at a very low energy flux density. You can burn your skin, but it's a low energy flux density. It's not very useful. Apply it directly. What happens if you apply it directly? You get desert. If you apply it to plant life, you get fields and forests and so forth and so on. And you also get a lowering of the average temperature of the planet in which people live. So the issue here is mankind has proceeded from relying upon simple sunlight through the burning of combustible material to coal, to coke, to petrochemical fuels. And now we go to a much higher level, which is nuclear fission. Much higher energy flux density. Not only does this mean that you're increasing the efficiency of the planet and lowering the temperature of the planet, the comfort of the planet, but you're also creating processes, physical processes, which you cannot create otherwise. When we go to thermonuclear fusion, we take charge of a much higher level of the physical chemical processes of the planet. And thus the objective of mankind is to go constantly to higher energy flux density modes of generation of power. Because the important thing is not the number of calories, it's the energy flux density of the heat applied, which determines the effect you get. So therefore, every part of the world needs a change presently from the present modes of power. For example, water power is not efficient. You can use it as a byproduct of certain effects, but the function of water is primarily not water power. The function of water is water as such. Water is essential to living processes. That's what it's for. So use it to promote living processes. Get your power from higher things, from nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Because not only do you get more efficient power, but also you're able to produce chemically states of nature you cannot produce otherwise. So that's the point. So therefore, if we do not have a nuclear industry, we're going to die. We cannot maintain the population of this planet. The ultimate catastrophe would be a non-nuclear planet. We need it. As for anything else, well, I don't think there's any process on this planet that can't kill people, even the simplest kind. A rope can kill people. So therefore, let's not worry about the fact that if mismanagement of one particular form of power can kill people or poison people, when mismanagement of any kind of power will tend to kill people anyway. Rather, the policy is, if you're going to have a nuclear policy, nuclear fission policy, do it right. We know how to do it right, so do it right. Don't talk about how bad it would be if we did it wrong. Don't do it wrong. And that's what we know as having science and regulation. Science and we need at least 5 nuclear power plants to be built on this planet every week. That's our need.
Say 5 a week?
Yep. 1 gigawatt each.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of power.
Yes, it is a lot of power.
More power than the Congress has.
Well, then 2 windmills would be more power than the Congress.
I think we got 2 windmills in the Congress.
Certainly have a lot of hot air. Okay, the next question is from Representative Catherine Barrett of Cincinnati, Ohio. Mr. LaRouche, we really need to turn around the job situation in the country, and of course we see it here in Ohio. The reason why this really concerns me is that the crisis in jobs is having a massive impact on our youth and on education. I see young people here in Ohio who are very, very smart, Yet each day I see the spark of creativity in them stifled, and I see their hope snuffed out. The reason is obvious. We have no real opportunities for them as far as